The massive screen in the United Earth Council chamber displayed hundreds of alien faces, each wearing expressions that ranged from mild amusement to outright contempt. Captain James Walker stood straight, his weathered face remaining calm despite the increasing sounds of laughter echoing through the quantum communication channels. "You expect us to believe that humans, barely space-capable for 2 centuries, have mastered 7-dimensional physics?" The deep voice belonged to High Commander Reed of the Stellar Empire, his crystalline form shimmering with barely contained mockery. "Even our civilization, with 50,000 years of space travel, hasn't achieved such feats." Dr. Rose Thompson stepped forward, her gray hair tied back in a neat bun, eyes sharp behind simple glasses. The small device in her hand, no larger than an old Earth compass, hummed with a strange energy that made the air itself seem to ripple. "With all due respect, High Commander," she said, "perhaps that's precisely why we succeeded where others failed. We approached the problem without 1,000-year-old assumptions about what's possible and what isn't." More laughter erupted from the alien representatives. A tentacled being in the upper right corner of the screen was literally changing colors with amusement, its skin cycling through shades of purple and green. Back in the private chamber adjacent to the council room, Walker watched Dr. Thompson's hands tighten around her device. He had known her long enough to recognize when her patience was wearing thin. 6 years of working together on Project Archimedes had taught him that her calm exterior hid a steel-trapped mind and an unshakable determination. "The Archimedes is ready," Walker said quietly to her as they left the chamber after another round of dismissive comments. "Let them laugh. In 3 days, they won't be laughing anymore." The massive hangar that housed the Archimedes stretched for nearly a mile. The ship itself didn't look particularly impressive. No sharp angles or aggressive design like the Stellar Empire's warships. Instead, it was smooth, almost organic in appearance, its hull a deep blue-black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Walker's crew was already aboard, running final checks. His first officer, Tom Green, met them at the airlock, tablet in hand. "All systems are green, Captain," Green reported, his dark skin glistening with sweat from the pre-launch preparations. "The 7D core is stable, and all safety protocols are in place." Dr. Thompson nodded, finally allowing herself a small smile. "The core's quantum configuration is perfect. Better than our simulations, actually." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Walker couldn't help but feel pride in what they had achieved. The Archimedes represented humanity's greatest leap forward, not just in technology, but in understanding the universe itself. The bridge was a marvel of human engineering. Instead of the traditional setup, it was arranged in a circular pattern, with the 7D core's control station at the center. Dr. Thompson took her place there, while Walker settled into the captain's position. "Message from the Stellar Empire, sir," the communications officer, Linda West, announced. "They're sending 3 observer ships to ensure our safety during this ill-advised test." The sarcasm in her voice was evident. Walker exchanged glances with Thompson. They both knew what observer ships really meant. The Stellar Empire hadn't maintained its dominance over the galaxy by being passive when new technologies emerged. "Let them come," Thompson said, her fingers dancing over the core's controls. "They think they're coming to watch a failure. Instead, they'll witness the beginning of a new era." The pre-launch sequence began. Throughout the ship, crews secured stations and prepared for humanity's first true step into higher dimensional space. Outside, the observer ships took position, sleek, predatory vessels that made no attempt to hide their weapon systems. "They're scanning us," West reported, "trying to penetrate our shields." Walker smiled. "Let them scan all they want. They won't understand what they're seeing until it's too late." The 7D core began to hum, a sound unlike anything ever heard on a spacecraft before. It wasn't just a sound. It was as if reality itself was singing. "All stations, report ready," Walker commanded, his voice steady despite the historical magnitude of the moment. One by one, the The stations reported in. Dr. Thompson's hands hovered over the core's final activation sequence. "Let's show them what humanity can do," Walker said quietly. "Begin launch sequence. It's time to stop the laughter." The Archimedes' engines ignited, and humanity's greatest achievement prepared to prove that sometimes the youngest species could teach the oldest some new tricks. The Archimedes lifted off with surprising grace for a vessel its size. As it rose through Earth's atmosphere, the 3 stellar Empire ships fell into formation around it, their sleek forms gleaming like predatory fish circling prey. "Core temperature nominal," Dr. Thompson announced from her station, her eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of energy displayed before her. "Dimensional barriers are stable. We can initiate the drive whenever you're ready, Captain." Walker nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Every crew member on the bridge held their breath. This was the moment that would either validate years of work or confirm the galaxy's mockery of human ambition. "Message from the lead observer ship," West reported. "They're requesting we abort the test. They say their sensors are detecting dangerous anomalies in our drive signature." "Of course they are," Green muttered from his station. "They're probably terrified we might actually succeed." Walker straightened in his chair. "Send them our thanks for their concern. Inform them we're proceeding as planned." He turned to Thompson. "Doctor, start the sequence." Thompson's fingers moved across her controls with practiced precision. The 7D core's hum changed, becoming deeper, more resonant. Those on the bridge felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was becoming somehow more substantial around them. "First dimensional barrier breached," Thompson reported, "moving through 4-dimensional space. 5, 6. The observer ships suddenly broke formation, pulling back as their sensors detected something their crews had never seen before. The space around the Archimedes began to ripple, like heat waves off hot pavement, but in impossible colors that hurt the eyes to look at. 7-dimensional breach achieved. Thompson's voice carried triumph and awe in equal measure. The core is stable. All readings are perfect. The view outside the ship changed. The stars seemed to stretch, not in the familiar lines of normal faster-than-light travel, but in patterns that the human mind struggled to comprehend. It was as if they were seeing the universe from angles that shouldn't exist. By all the ancient ones, came a stunned transmission from one of the observer ships. "What have you done?" Walker allowed himself a small smile. "We've done exactly what we said we would. Helm, take us out of the solar system. Let's show them what this ship can really do." The Archimedes moved through space in ways that defied conventional physics. It didn't so much travel through space as it shifted through higher dimensions, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. The observer ships tried to keep pace but found themselves hopelessly outmatched. "They're attempting to scan our drive signature," West reported, grinning. "Their sensors can't make sense of it. They keep asking us to slow down." Thompson stood at her station, watching the energy patterns with satisfaction. "They're trying to understand 7-dimensional physics with 3-dimensional tools. It's like trying to measure the ocean with a ruler." The ship passed Jupiter in seconds, then crossed the entire solar system in less than a minute. The observer ships were left far behind, their fastest speeds seeming glacial in comparison. "New message coming in," West announced. "It's from the Galactic Council, Priority 1. The message displayed on the main screen, showing High Commander Reed's crystalline face. The previous mockery was gone, replaced by something that looked very much like fear. "Human vessel Archimedes, you will power down your drive immediately. What you're doing is dangerous and unprecedented. We need to evaluate." Walker cut the transmission with a gesture. "Send them our telemetry data. Let them see exactly how safe and controlled this is." He turned to Thompson. "Ready for the real demonstration?" Thompson nodded, her eyes gleaming. "Phase 2 ready, Captain. This will really give them something to think about." The 7D core's hum changed again, and the Archimedes began to do something that would rewrite the laws of space travel forever. As the ship phased through multiple dimensions simultaneously, It created a cascade effect that rippled through space-time itself. In the distance, the observer ships watched in stunned silence as the human vessel performed maneuvers that their most advanced computers classified as impossible. The laughter had stopped, replaced by a dawning realization that humanity had not just caught up to the galactic community. They had leaped far ahead. The age of human ascendancy had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Red alert klaxons blared through the Archimedes as 5 stellar Empire warships materialized around them, their weapon systems already charged and targeting arrays locked on. "So much for scientific observation," Walker said grimly, watching the massive vessels take up attack positions. "Status report. Their weapons are powered to maximum," Green called out. "Detection systems show quantum torpedoes and gravity lance arrays. They're not here to talk, Captain." A transmission cut through their communications, displaying High Commander Reed's crystalline form, now pulsing with dark purple energy, a sign of aggression in his species. "You will surrender your vessel and all research data immediately," Reed demanded. "This technology is too dangerous for a young race to control. Comply, or we will take it by force." Walker's jaw tightened. "Dr. Thompson, status of the 7D core." "Fully operational," she replied, her hands moving swiftly across her controls. "But Captain, I'm seeing something interesting in the energy patterns. The core is reacting to their weapon signatures in an unexpected way." Before Walker could respond, the lead Empire ship fired. A brilliant beam of concentrated gravity waves struck the Archimedes' conventional shields, nearly overwhelming them. "Shields at 40%. Green shouted. "Standard defenses won't hold against another hit like that." Thompson's eyes suddenly widened. "Captain, the core. It's not just a drive system. The way it's interacting with their attacks, I think we can use it defensively." Another blast rocked the ship. Walker gripped his chair. "Whatever you're thinking, Doctor, do it fast." Thompson's fingers flew across her console, redirecting power from the drive systems. The 7D core's hum changed frequency, and suddenly the space around the Archimedes began to twist in impossible ways. The next gravity lance from the Empire ships bent away from the Archimedes, curving through dimensions that shouldn't exist before dissipating harmlessly into space. "By all that's sacred," Green whispered, watching his displays. "The core is bending their attacks through higher dimensions." Thompson nodded excitedly. "Better than that. Each attack is actually feeding energy back into our systems. They're making us stronger." The Empire ships launched a barrage of quantum torpedoes. Instead of impacting the Archimedes, they seemed to fade from existence just before hitting, reappearing behind the attacking vessels in a stunning display of dimensional manipulation. "That's impossible," Reed's voice thundered over the comm. "All ships, concentrate fire. We must not let them maintain control of this technology." Walker leaned forward. "Doctor, can we do more than just defend?" Thompson's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. "The core's reaction to their weapons. Captain, I think we can create a dimensional shear point, a controlled one. In simple terms, Doctor, we can trap them between dimensions, not permanently, but long enough to make our point." Walker nodded. "Do it." Thompson's hands danced across her controls, and the 7D core's power output surged. The space around the Empire ships began to distort, reality itself seeming to fold around their vessels. What are you doing?" Reed's transmission was breaking up now. "Stop this immediately." The 5 Empire ships found themselves caught in a dimensional pocket, their weapons firing harmlessly into spaces that didn't technically exist. Their mighty vessels, terror of the galaxy, hung helpless in the dimensional trap. "This is your only warning," Walker transmitted to the immobilized fleet. "The next time you attempt to seize this ship or its technology, we won't be so gentle." Thompson manipulated the core again, and the Empire ships were released, their crews visibly shaken by the experience of being partially phased out of normal space-time. "Return to your territory," Walker continued. and inform the stellar empire that humanity's achievements are our own. We won't be surrendering them to anyone. The Empire ships retreated, their departure lacking the predatory grace they'd arrived with. On the Archimedes' bridge, the crew sat in stunned silence, processing what had just happened. "Well," Thompson said, breaking the tension, "I suppose we should update our user manual. Warning: 7D Core may occasionally trap hostile fleets in dimensional pockets." A laugh rippled through the bridge crew, but Walker remained thoughtful. They had just discovered their ship wasn't just a revolutionary method of travel, it was the most powerful defensive and offensive system ever created. And somehow, he knew, this was just the beginning. The massive form of the Eternal Dawn emerged from hyperspace, dwarfing even the other Empire vessels. At 15 miles long, the flagship of the Stellar Empire was less a ship and more a mobile battle station, its crystalline hull bristling with weapons that could shatter planets. "That's considerably larger than our briefing suggested," Green said, staring at the tactical display. Dr. Thompson barely looked up from her work at the 7D Core's controls. For the past 6 hours, she had been deep in calculations, her eyes reflecting complex dimensional equations. "Size won't matter where we're going, Tom." Walker watched the Eternal Dawn approach, its very presence distorting the space around it with gravitational forces. "Doctor, please tell me you found something useful in those calculations." "Better than useful, Captain." Thompson's fingers flew across her console. "I've discovered why the core reacts to their weapons. It's not just deflecting attacks, it's learning from them. Each interaction teaches it new ways to manipulate dimensional space." The Eternal Dawn's first attack came without warning. A massive beam of concentrated dark energy lanced toward the Archimedes, powerful enough to vaporize a small moon. "Now, Doctor," Walker ordered. Thompson activated her new calculations. The 7D core pulsed, and the dark energy beam split, not just in three-dimensional space, but across multiple dimensional planes. The crew watched in awe as the deadly attack fractured into harmless ribbons of light that danced through impossible angles before fading away. Impossible. The transmission from the Eternal Dawn showed a new commander, his crystalline form larger and more elaborate than Reed's. No defense system can disperse a dark energy lance. "That wasn't defense," Thompson said quietly, her eyes shining with excitement. "That was dimensional diffraction. Captain, we can do more than just defend now. Much more." Walker nodded. "Show me." The 7D core's hum changed to a deep, resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through multiple realities at once. The space around the Archimedes began to fold in ways that made the crew's eyes hurt if they looked too directly at the view screens. The Eternal Dawn fired again, this time with its full weapons array. Planet-crushing gravitational beams, quantum torpedoes, and dark energy lances all converged on the Archimedes. Thompson's hands moved in complex patterns across her controls. The 7D core responded, and suddenly the Archimedes was everywhere and nowhere. It existed at multiple dimensional coordinates simultaneously, each version of the ship channeling and redirecting the Empire's attacks. "The core is fully synchronized now," Thompson reported. "We can match their power output by drawing energy across dimensional boundaries." And she smiled. "We can do this." She pressed a sequence of controls. The space around the Eternal Dawn warped, and massive sections of the mighty vessel simply vanished, reappearing seconds later several miles away. The flagship's perfect crystalline form was now split into chunks, each piece existing in a slightly different dimensional plane. "By the ancestors," the Empire commander's voice shook. "What have you done to my ship?" "Don't worry," Thompson replied. "The effect is temporary, but I suggest you reconsider your attack. The next demonstration won't be so gentle." The Eternal Dawn's separate pieces were formed, its crew visibly shaken by the experience of being dimensionally divided. The mighty flagship began to retreat, its support vessels scrambling to follow. "That was remarkable," Walker said as the Empire fleet fled. "But I get the feeling you're not telling us everything, Doctor." Thompson's expression turned serious. "You're right. What we just did, that was nothing compared to what the core is capable of. It's not just breaking the laws of physics, Captain. It's rewriting them. And I'm starting to think that's exactly what it was designed to do." The implications of her words hung heavy in the bridge's air. They had begun this journey thinking they had created a revolutionary drive system. Now, it seemed, they had stumbled upon something far more significant, a tool that could reshape the very fabric of reality. "Keep working on it," Walker ordered. "Something tells me we're going to need everything this ship can do, and soon." In the distance, the Eternal Dawn vanished into hyperspace, carrying with it news that would shake the Empire to its foundations. Humanity hadn't just mastered space travel. They had mastered reality itself. Space itself trembled as 50 stellar Empire warships dropped out of hyperspace, led by the reconstructed Eternal Dawn. Behind them came hundreds of support vessels, forming the largest battle fleet seen in the galaxy for 10,000 years. "They're not taking chances this time," Green observed, his voice tense as he watched the tactical display fill with enemy signatures. Dr. Thompson stood at her station, oddly calm despite the overwhelming force arrayed against them. "Captain, remember how I said the core was rewriting physics? I think it's time to show them exactly what that means." The Empire fleet moved into an attack formation that resembled a three-dimensional spiral, designed to ensure no possible escape route remained open. The Eternal Dawn hung at the formation's heart, its crystalline surface now reinforced with dark energy fields. "Surrender immediately," the Empire commander's voice boomed through their communications. "This is your final warning. Even your dimensional tricks cannot save you from this level of firepower." Walker looked at Thompson. "Doctor." She smiled. "Let them fire first. The core needs to see their full attack pattern." The Empire fleet obliged. Thousands of energy beams, torpedoes, and gravitational weapons converged on the Archimedes' position. The combined power could have cracked a planet in half. Thompson's fingers danced across her controls. The 7D core's hum changed, becoming a sound that seemed to resonate with the fundamental frequency of reality itself. The massive barrage of weapons never reached its target. Instead, the attacks froze in space, suspended in a moment of time that stretched like taffy. The energy beams twisted into impossible shapes, forming patterns that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. "Now," Thompson said softly, "watch this." She pressed a single control. The frozen attacks suddenly reversed course, but they were different now. Each weapon had been transformed, filtered through higher dimensions until they became something new. Where there had been energy beams, there were now cascading waves of dimensional force. The torpedoes had become points of concentrated spacetime, and the gravity weapons had transformed into something that made light bend around them in impossible ways. The Empire fleet's own attacks, transformed by the 7D core, tore through their formations. Ships found themselves partially phased out of reality, their crews experiencing time at different rates. Others were caught in dimensional eddies, their matter and energy being gently but inexorably reorganized at the quantum level. Impossible. The Empire commander's transmission showed his crystalline form cracking with stress. "What are you doing to our ships?" "We're showing you what seven-dimensional physics really means," Thompson replied. "Your weapons operate in 4 dimensions at most. We're using all 7. The mathematics are quite beautiful, actually." The Eternal Dawn itself launched a desperate attack, firing its planet-killer main weapon. The beam of pure dark energy approached the Archimedes and vanished. "Where did you send it?" Walker asked, genuinely curious. Thompson's eyes sparkled. "About 2 minutes into the future and slightly to the left. It should be reappearing right about." The dark energy beam materialized inside the Eternal Dawn's own engine section, transformed by its journey through dimensional space into a cascade of quantum disruption that shut down every system on the massive flagship. "You see," Thompson explained to the stunned Empire commander, Space and time are really the same thing when you look at them from the seventh dimension. Your weapons are impressive, but they're like trying to win a space battle by throwing rocks. The Empire fleet hung motionless, their mighty weapons rendered useless, their ships trapped in a web of higher dimensional physics they couldn't begin to understand. "Your fleet will be released in 1 hour," Walker transmitted. "I suggest you use that time to reconsider your position on human technological development." As the enemy ships floated helplessly in space, their crews trying to comprehend what had just happened to them, Thompson made a final adjustment to the 7D core. "Captain," she said, "I should mention that what we just did, that was using about 10% of what the core is actually capable of. I'm still finding new functions in its operational matrix." Walker looked at the disabled Empire fleet, then back at Thompson. 10%. She nodded. "Would you like to see what else it can do?" The galaxy's balance of power had not just shifted, it had been completely rewritten. And humanity was holding the pen. "They're sending in everything," Green announced, his voice tight as the tactical display filled with thousands of signatures. Every combat-capable ship in the Empire's fleet. Over 3,000 vessels. The space around the Archimedes lit up as the largest armada in galactic history emerged from hyperspace. Ships of all sizes formed a sphere around them, their weapons charged and ready. At the center of the formation, 3 massive vessels like the Eternal Dawn hung ominously. Dr. Thompson didn't even look worried. Instead, she was smiling as her fingers moved across the 7D core's controls with practiced ease. "Perfect. We needed a large-scale test anyway." "Doctor," Walker said carefully, "what exactly are you planning?" "Remember how I said the core rewrites physics?" She looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. "Well, I've finally figured out how to do it deliberately. Watch." The Empire fleet opened fire, not just weapons, but every form of energy they could produce. The space around the Archimedes became a storm of destructive force that should have atomized anything caught within it. Thompson pressed a single button. The 7D core's hum changed to a note that seemed to resonate with reality itself. And physics changed. The massive energy barrage didn't just stop, it transformed. The laws governing energy and matter shifted within a sphere 10 light minutes across. Empire weapons found themselves operating under new rules of physics that their designers had never imagined possible. Matter converted to energy, and back again in impossible patterns. Space folded in on itself, creating geometric shapes that couldn't exist in normal reality. Time flowed differently in different regions, creating a cascade of cause and effect that turned the Empire's own attacks into a stunning display of dimensional art. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Thompson said softly. "We're not just using 7 dimensions anymore. We're conducting them, like an orchestra." The Empire fleet found itself caught in this rewritten reality. Ships phased in and out of existence as the new physics took hold. Energy weapons fired backwards in time. Matter reorganized itself according to laws that changed every few seconds. "This is impossible," came the panicked transmission from the Empire command ship. "You can't change the fundamental laws of physics." "Actually," Thompson replied, "you can. If you have the right tools and understand all 7 dimensions. Your problem is thinking that physics is fixed. It's not. It's more like guidelines." She made another adjustment, and a wave of dimensional force rippled out from the Archimedes. Where it passed, Empire ships were transformed. Not destroyed, transformed. Their matter and energy were perfectly preserved, but rearranged into crystalline structures that resembled abstract art more than warships. "Don't worry," Thompson transmitted to the increasingly panicked Empire commanders. "The effect is temporary. Your ships and crews are perfectly safe. They're just experiencing reality from a slightly different perspective for a while." Walker watched in awe as the mighty Empire fleet was reduced to floating sculptures, each one a testament to what happened when 7-dimensional physics rewrote 3-dimensional reality. "Doctor," he said quietly, "we're not just changing the game anymore, are we? We're changing the entire playing field. Thompson nodded. The core isn't just a weapon or a drive system, Captain. It's a tool for redefining what's possible, and we've only scratched the surface of what it can do. As if to demonstrate her point, she entered a final sequence into her controls. The space around the Archimedes lit up with patterns of pure dimensional energy, forming a display that made the Empire's most advanced weapons look like children's toys. The transformed Empire fleet hung motionless in space, their crews watching in stunned silence as reality itself danced to humanity's tune. The mighty stellar empire, which had dominated the galaxy for 50,000 years, had just discovered that all their power meant nothing in the face of humanity's greatest achievement. "Send the message," Walker ordered. Thompson nodded and transmitted across all frequencies, to the stellar empire and all watching powers. This demonstration was conducted using less than 30% of our capability. Consider carefully what that means before you take any further hostile action against Earth or her colonies. The message wasn't just a warning. It was the beginning of a new era. Humanity hadn't just mastered space travel or warfare. They had mastered reality itself. And the galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 10,000 civilizations sat in stunned silence as they watched the recording of the Archimedes' final demonstration. Even the oldest races, those who had explored the cosmos when humanity's ancestors were still learning to make fire, seemed shaken. Captain Walker stood at the podium, Dr. Thompson beside him, as the recording showed their ship rewriting physics itself. The Empire's mighty fleet, transformed into crystalline art by fundamental forces that no longer followed the expected rules, served as a powerful backdrop to his words. "Humanity doesn't seek dominion," Walker said into the silence. "We don't want to rule, control, or subjugate. What we want is recognition. Recognition that younger races can contribute to galactic civilization in ways the ancient ones never imagined." The crystalline form of High Commander Reed shifted uncomfortably. "And what guarantee do we have that you won't use this power to enforce your will upon others, as we admittedly attempted to do to you?" Thompson stepped forward. "Because we understand something you don't yet grasp. The 7D Core didn't just teach us about physics. It taught us about responsibility. When you can reshape reality itself, you learn quickly that power isn't about control. It's about harmony." She gestured, and a small device on her wrist projected a complex 7-dimensional equation into the chamber's air. "This is what we're offering. Not weapons, not dominance, but knowledge. The ability to see reality as it truly is, beyond the limitations of 3-dimensional thinking." The chamber erupted in murmurs as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't just demonstrating superiority. They were offering to share their understanding. "The core has shown us things that change everything we thought we knew," Thompson continued. "Faster than light travel. That's just the beginning. We found ways to generate infinite clean energy, to restore damaged environments, to heal injuries by rewriting local space-time. But we need help to fully understand it all." Walker nodded. "We're establishing a new research center on Earth. Any civilization that wishes to join us in exploring these discoveries is welcome, not as subjects or students, but as equals. Because the truth is, we're all still learning." The Stellar Empire's representatives conferred among themselves before Reed spoke again. "We acknowledge our error in judgment. The Empire formally recognizes Earth as a sovereign power and requests permission to participate in this joint research initiative." More civilizations began to voice their support. Ancient races that had looked down on humanity now spoke of cooperation and shared discovery. The balance of power wasn't just shifting, it was transforming into something entirely new. Thompson smiled as she made one final announcement. "There's something else the core showed us. The 7 dimensions we've accessed. They're not the only ones. We've detected evidence of at least 3 more. Who wants to help us explore them?" The chamber exploded with excitement. The possibility of even higher dimensions, of even deeper understanding of reality's fundamental nature, captured the imagination of every species present. As the session concluded, Walker and Thompson stood at a viewport, watching ships from 100 different civilizations orbit Earth's new dimensional research facility. "Did you ever think it would end like this?" Walker asked. Thompson shook her head. "Not an ending, Captain. A beginning. We've started something that will change not just our galaxy, but our understanding of existence itself." She paused, looking at the stars. "And the best part, everyone gets to participate. No more ancient races looking down on younger ones. No more artificial hierarchies, just shared discovery." The Archimedes hung in orbit above them, its hull still rippling with dimensional energies. But now it wasn't alone. Ships from across the galaxy were arriving, each ready to join in humanity's greatest adventure. "They're not laughing anymore," Walker observed. "No," Thompson agreed. "They're doing something better. They're learning. And so are we." As night fell over Earth, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. Humanity had not just proven itself to the galaxy. It had transformed the very nature of galactic civilization. The age of dimensional physics had begun, and with it, a new era of exploration, discovery, and cooperation that would reach across all 7 dimensions and beyond. The laughter had indeed stopped, replaced by something far more valuable: wonder.